All right, everybody. Hey, welcome to the Business Line Podcast, Episode 1. I'm Brian. This is
I'm Manish or Manny. Like whatever is comfortable. Don't make it sound like Manish. It's Manish.
Manish.
Yeah.
All right. See, we got that out of the
Or
way
Manny.
right away.
Manny is easy.
Manny's easy, but I call him Manny. You guys aren't his friend yet, so you can't call him Manny until you take him to Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, this is Episode 1. We're going to spend some time today talking about who we are, why we're doing this, what our company is. This podcast isn't all about our company, but we're on this business journey that we've been on for the last 7 going on 8 years, and we've learned a lot. We've met a lot of cool people. We want to introduce you to them, every week, and just give you guys an opportunity to learn from the dumb things we've done that sometimes turned out good, sometimes not so much, and from other people that we meet and learn from their highs and lows too. So without further ado, let's get a little bit started. So
Yeah, my question, before we get into, who we are, why are we doing this?
I think I got a LinkedIn message from a guy. His name is Matt, and he's got a company called Pivot Studios, and that's actually who's producing this stuff for us. But he emailed me, one of those cold emails. Not even an email, it was a LinkedIn message. Those kind of things that I think never work. And it worked. And it took a while. We went back and forth a bit, but it just got me thinking about it. It was actually something I was thinking about for a while, because we're always looking at ways to kind of get our names out there and share and stuff like that. And I listen to podcasts. I watch podcasts. Why are they even called podcasts anymore? Do you have an iPod? I actually have an iPod. It's in a junk drawer. I don't even know if it still works. It's got like my playlist from 2007 on it, before I had kids. My playlist is much different now. But anyway, so why are we doing it? I was thinking about it, and through Providence, I get this message from Matt, and over a course of a couple months, we figured out a way to make a deal, and we did, and here we are. And now I pulled you into it. So it started with Joe. So I used to work at a company that no longer exists. They got bought out, but at the time it wasn't bought yet. And I was doing IT sales. It's not what I was educated to do, but life changes happen and you learn something new, and I was loving it. And that company's owner was a really good friend of mine, and things started changing in the company. He wanted to sell it. I was the most expensive part of the company, and I don't think the company could sell as long as I was a part of it. I don't think the company that was interested in buying that company, it was an IT company, wanted to buy it with me on the books because I was expensive. And once I figured that out, I found a different option and I left. But when I remember the day I was leaving, Joe stopped me and he said, "Hey, Brian," I can't do Joe's voice very well, but it wasn't an American accent. He's like, "Hey, Brian, I've got a friend back in India. He has a business and he might be looking to start a business in the US in the next couple of years. If he does, can I call you? Would you meet him?" Sure. And it was almost 2 years to the date, because that was like midsummer of 2014, and almost exactly 2 years later, I hear from him, and he's like, "Hey, my good friend Manny is in the U.S. and he wants to meet. Do you want to meet?" I'm sure, because I was kind of in a place where I was ready to do something else too, and we had lunch. I think it was at a Chili's. Chili's isn't even there anymore in Brookfield, Wisconsin. Drove by there the other day, and we had lunch, and we just talked, goofed around a little bit. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, honestly. I mean, I was still doing IT sales, and I was just kind of getting bored with it where I was, because I kind of felt like I didn't have a whole lot of potential to be creative with it and do fun stuff. So, would you ask me if I knew something about transcription or something like that? So just for folks that don't know, transcription is when a doctor speaks into a device, we call it dictating into a device, it records it, and then those recordings are sent to people that type it out to be put into report form. Back in the day, those were on physical pieces of paper, kept in files. But it was really big in the 90s, early 2000s and stuff like that, to outsource that work to India.
Yeah. So the boom of medical transcription in India started in 1997. For 3 years, or maybe like 2 years, I worked in that company. Then I moved to some a different company, that was based out in Hyderabad, in another state of India, which is at that time we used to call that Andhra Pradesh. So
I can't say that clearly.
Yeah, I know.
Andhra Pradesh.
Andhra. Yeah. See?
Probably terrible.
Yeah.
He tells me
you make fun of like our Indian accent, or and you cannot even speak
when I try to say
my name correctly. Like
it sounds to me like I'm doing a really good job, but then you look at me and you're like, you are so bad. You're pathetic.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how. In 2000, like I was working for a company. I joined a company called Chintils, and I was the operations manager there. And before that time, like actually Joe started, like he figured it out that we can get work directly from US. So he started working on that. He started sending out emails to, hospitals, facilities, or transcription companies over here, telling them about, like what is going on in India. And we got contacted by someone out of Canada who was working for, like an American company, and said, okay, yeah, I can maybe, like if it works out, great. I mean, you guys have 3 years of experience so far. And as I said earlier, I was really good at, like what I did. So we got a couple of, test audios from this lady. And they were horrible. I mean,
like the quality of the recording
audio quality was really bad. But, like with the internet and everything at that time,
everything was kind of bad.
Yeah, everything was kind of bad. But I did a really good job after doing the night shift. And
Please don't be so humble.
Yeah.
Huh? Said, don't be so humble. Let us know how you really did.
I did really good. That's why we got our, that's how we got our first contract. And Joe used to, like keep me up because he knew that only I can do that. So after doing my night shift, 9-hour shift in the office from 10 to 6.
That's nighttime India.
Yeah, nighttime in India. Yeah. So he called me when I was getting free that, okay, yeah, we got a test file. I need to come here. And I said, nope, I'm sleepy. I cannot do that. But he forced me kind of.
He forced you.
Yeah. And I was there at his home working on this audio, which was really lengthy. And it took me like 6-7 hours. And he was giving me tea. I mean, coffee was not famous at that time in India. Yeah.
Just watching you.
Yeah. Watching me, making sure that, like I was working and, like, yeah. So because we had a deadline. So by evening, we sent it out, which is like Indian evening and morning time here in US. But it was in Canada. So, and she liked our work. That's how we started. But we actually didn't start the business till 2001. So 2000, during the 2000 time period, we did whatever she used to send us, like after I got free from my office, I used to go to his house and do the work. And she liked our work, and slowly it started building up. And that's when we said, okay, let's open a company. So we started our company with 5 or 6 people. People who believed in us, people who knew that, like, okay, we are trying to do something new.
Was it friends or just people you knew from the trainings or family?
It was, like initially a couple of friends, they came with us, they, stuck with us for a couple of months, but then they said, like, okay, no, it's not growing or going anywhere. But anyway, that's how we started, like me and Joe, we started this business in 2001. And from there on, by the year 2010, we were a company of around, like 250 people back in India. So we started with one client, and then later on, like using the same principles, same policies, we started contacting other medical transcription companies here in US. We were not contacting the hospitals or facilities, practices.
Did you skip the part about working for that company and they had the software that Joe ended up downloading and taking? And
do you want us to get arrested?
By who? Your past?
Not here, but maybe back in India. When I go back to India, they might arrest me.
No, you'll be fine. What's that called? It's past the statute of limitations.
Indians don't forget.
We don't forget. It's just a law.
I mean, it was not, like something we...
Wasn't a big deal.
It was.
Joe says it's like it was licenses or something. He just took the licenses.
Yeah, so, what we did was, we...
You guys are shady.
We gathered softwares from the companies that we worked for, I mean, we borrowed.
Did you give it back?
Huh?
Did you give it back?
No, the company closed down.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you put them out of business? They were.
Yeah, I mean,
I think what Joe tells me is they were just kind of not a very good company. They didn't do good business.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that was it. Like why we came into existence, because like first we offered the work that we were getting to the company that we were working for, because they were not able to secure work.
You found more people to be able to get more.
So this company that I was working for, the owner had his son in US, and he said, everybody wanted to, get into this medical transcription business, because it was the boom time at that.
Right. It's kind of like scribes now.
Yeah.
Right.
So, so he said, okay, I need an operations manager. That's how he hired me. I had like 3 years of experience by that time, and I had worked from, from the scratch to the top level in every positions by that time. So he hired me, and he said, okay, my son is there in the US, we'll get business. Can you get it done? I said, yeah, absolutely. So we started training some people, for medical transcription in that company, and 6 months went by, nothing came up.
No new work.
The company was on the brink of, closing. The owner said, okay, it's enough. My son is not good enough.
He didn't have a good salesperson.
Yeah, he's not a good salesperson, and okay, I'm not going to continue. And I got married, in 2001.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. So I said, okay, let me do one thing. I don't want to be jobless again. We have some work. We will give you that work, but we'll keep a percentage of it, and you still have to pay my salaries and the salaries of the people that I'm going to choose.
Yeah.
From the people that we have trained. So we'll pay their salaries. No, you'll have to pay their salaries, and you have to pay our cut also. So he agreed, and he said, okay, let me give my son another 6 months. So we continued like that for another 6 months. Joe at that time was working for a different company.
Was he still trying to be a transcriptionist and you doing the work for him, or was he doing IT by now?
He was never a good transcriptionist.
I know, you did all the work. He just
I did. Yeah, he was just he was always the IT person from from day one.
Okay.
So that's how we basically. So another 6 months went by, and then the owner said, okay, he's a big shot in India. He's a builder. He has many businesses. Yeah. And he said, I cannot waste time on, because we were getting it work from, a kind of a third person, there was a person between us and the facility.
Okay.
So the margins were not that great. Then, we said, okay, we'll take a percentage of that from, we won't give you the full benefit. So the owner said, okay, either you give me the full benefit, or, I'm just going to close it down.
Yeah.
So at that point, we negotiated a deal with him. Give us the space, give us your, all the infrastructure that you have. We'll give you a really good rental amount. And let us use the people, instead of firing them, we'll absorb them. We'll, pay their salaries. So in August 2001, we finally opened a company, called Nexus Services. It was a partnership between me and Joe.
Yeah.
That's how exactly, we started our business.
Okay.
So from there onwards, Joe was the IT person. So he used to handle all the IT, and I used to take care of all the work. So slowly from 5-6 people, by 2010, or in fact by 2008, our growth was kind of slow. But by 2009, we got a big deal, a company who opened their company, a unit in India. They were further outsourcing it to many other companies. And by that time, a company called Nuance developed a software called, Dragon. Speech recognition. By that time, speech recognition was there in the market.
Yep.
So that's at that time, okay, before that, it was, doctors used to dictate over a device or through a phone line, and the voice files used to come to India, and people used to type it out, every word, and another level was done to make sure the accuracy of the reports is like 98.5 plus.
Yep.
And we used to send those back. So all this was done within 12 hours. We took advantage of, like the day and night difference. So whatever work or whatever patients providers used to see during the day here, they used to dictate that by the end of the day, and we used to get those our morning time. And then
work on them and have them done by the time.
we were done with them by our evening time, which is morning time over here. So that worked, wonderfully. That's one of the reasons why this work was outsourced to India, because of the time difference.
Yep.
So 2009, this new technology came in where, you don't need a transcriptionist anymore. You don't need the first level.
Well, they sold it as that, at least.
Yeah, they sold it as that, and it was not bad. I mean, it was initially, it started with around 65% accurate reports, but over a period of time, I would say, within a year or 2 years, it became so good, this speech recognition, that it used to give us almost 80% accurate reports.
Yeah.
So what happened was, the level 1 got removed. The second level remained, which is the auditing.
Yeah. And to catch that 20% and correct it.
Yeah. So it was kind of scary at that time. I mean,
so were you guys still had a few hundred people on the team? You're still big, still had deals.
No, I mean, we really grew after 2008, by utilizing this Dragon technology.
Oh, so you were leveraging it for a while.
Yeah,
and still
leveraging.
Growing.
Yeah. So I mean, before that, there were 2 levels and we grew.
But this was
the
this
real
was before,
boom was, after 2008.
I mean, EHRs were around, or electronic health records, electronic medical record software, which we all know, we all experience now as patients and stuff. But
that actually came back.
It was around, but it wasn't
required. Was around, but it was not fully implemented.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
Very cumbersome.
Yeah.
Only hospitals and clinics that wanted to be kind of out on the edge of tech were implementing it back then, like 08, 09, right?
Anyway, so 2009, onwards, we started seeing we grew rapidly, from 50 people. By 2012, we were almost 250 people. And we were still growing because we removed one level, and the second level was working on these, speech recognized documents. And the people got more productive because of this technology. People started getting paid, healthier amounts, initially it was really low, but with this technology, people were able to produce, were more productive and were able to earn more amount. So everything was going good. But by 2013, I think, Obamacare came into place.
Yeah, I think
something about, this EHR.
I mean, we could be a little bit off, but I think 2013 is when the, that
law was passed that EHR were made.
Yeah, they had to do it by a certain time in 2013 or they started getting penalized.
Yeah, penalized. They have to use this
have to show meaningful use and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So with everything going to EHR, things changed. Now everything needs to be documented in the EHR. And what we were doing till that time was, we were using speech recognized documents, but we were only sending the documents back in the Word format to the facilities. Mm-hmm. And it used to take a lot of time, maybe more time, to upload those documents in the EHR than, dictating and getting it back to them. So the medical practices, hospitals realize that, we cannot waste this much time on this. Let's have our providers use the Dragon technology directly. They can speak directly into Dragon, and that will type everything in the EHR.
Yeah, and so Nuance, what I learned after is Nuance, from you guys' side is they're starting to, but Nuance was actively, aggressively selling it to the hospital and clinic side. It wasn't that the practices in the hospital said, "Oh, let's start doing this." Nuance realized that there was some slowdown, and they're not going to go to you guys and come up with an idea because you guys are technically taking a part of the money that they could be earning. Mm-hmm. They figured out, instead of selling it to these third-party providers that are doing the transcription services, let's sell it direct to the end user, the person who's recording, and we could sell it over and over and over and over and over again I remember at the time I was working in IT sales, and we took on a new small clinic, and they had 2 doctors that were using Dragon, and they paid, and this was in like 2012, 2013, $1,500 per license per doctor. That was a lot of money for a piece of software. So they grew quick.
Yeah. So, but like that's when we saw, there was a big dip, from 250 people at that time, like within 2 years, we were back to like somewhere around 8 to 10 people.
Yeah.
And at that time I was thinking, okay, I have only 2 options. Either I can, okay, leave all this and, get a job somewhere, or what do I do? I mean, how can I, I didn't want to, work for somebody else, because I've been working for myself for 13, 14 years and I kind of liked that. So, but I had only 2 options. So I have 2 kids, I had to support them, my family. So I thought, okay, I talked to Joe about this. He said, okay, by that time he was working for I think Tech Squad, right?
Yeah, Tech Squad. He joined, I want to say, in early 2014.
Yeah, 2014.
And
yeah. So I was talking to Joe constantly about this. I mean, from 2013, it took me another 3 years to make a decision. What do I want to do? I continued with, 10, 15 people that we had. We still had some work, but that was not enough. I knew that it will go away someday. So after much, thinking and putting a lot of, it was a big decision. I've never done, there were a couple of challenges before me. First, I had a huge loss in business. Whatever I had saved over the years, I've been trying to, save the business, and, I spent all that money, in 3 years, from 2012, 13 to 2015, all that money went back again into the business to try to save the business.
Yeah.
But by 2015, I realized, okay, it's not going to work anymore. I'm not going to get any more business, because Nuance was everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Every provider was, using a Dragon, and they were kind of, liking it at that time. Although they were complaining, I was talking to all these, providers, these medical transcription companies here in US during that time. So they liked saving, the money that they were spending on transcription services.
Yep.
But one thing I caught was they were not happy spending time on the EHR. Okay, although Dragon was really good, but it was not 100%. And it was only giving them like 80% of accuracy. And it used to take them more time putting everything, using Dragon and making sure everything is,
correcting it, going back
correctly
through,
in the EHR, then, picking up the phone and dictating, because dictating took like maybe 4 or 5 minutes. But Dragon used to extend that time by almost, it used to be double that time.
Yeah.
10, 15 minutes to complete one report. So a provider used to, on an average, in US, a provider sees around 15 to 20 minutes.
And I remember as an IT company, it's funny how this kind of fits together, but that clinic that we had that was using Dragon, weekly, there would be multiple requests and issues and tickets that would come in that I can't get Dragon to load. It's not working right. Or there's an update, now it's not working. Or can you, so
yeah,
those costs that come in that they don't quite see, because it's not something that they're paying with a check, but it's slowing them down, or right.
Yeah. So that's when I decided, okay, let's try. I got this point by talking to several providers, several people who have been working in the industry, like office managers and all that there is a way to solve this problem. Because providers who used to dictate using a phone line or dictaphone for 15 patients, they may be used to spend around, 1 hour. But with this new technology that is supposed to help them, and with this EHR implementation everywhere across the industry, it now used to take them like 2 to 3 hours minimum.
Yeah.
And that was burning them out.
Yep.
So
I think we spend that much every day.
Yeah.
When you take what is a doctor, depending on the type of doctor, take like an orthopedic surgeon who's going to have a lot of notes, whether it's on follow-up visits, coming to check out your knee that he fixed, or notes from the operation or from procedures. man, those guys are making good per hour costs. And if you've got 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, 10 hours every week at $250, $300 an hour, what their time is worth, and you can solve that problem. That's what we saw. Right?
That's what we saw, so I sold everything back, in India, because the business was already down. So I sold all whatever, I had. Talked to Joe. He said, I have a guy. I know he's really good. You should meet him. So in 2016, I decided, okay, it's time to, evolve and get out of your, comfort zone. I was I never talked to an American before, okay, the only Americans that we were talking to from India was, my clients,
right,
or the person in between, my clients, actual clients. And they were very few. So picked up my bag, landed here, met you the other day and told you about, okay, you had a totally different field. I had reservations about you because you were from an IT background.
Yeah.
And I was from a healthcare background. But Joe said,
we can do both. Joe's Joe's like, I'll do the IT, he'll sell it, and then we'll make money.
You can sell anything. So I met you that day. I told you about my idea, and you told me that, I told you in such a way that, I'm here to, I see a problem and I think, we can do a better job in resolving that. I gave you all that, right? Like the way I told you was, okay, right now they are spending 2 to 3 hours. What we can do is, we can upload everything back in EHR. For the providers, they can go back to, dictating, which will save them at least, 1 to 1.5 hours every day.
Yep.
Which can...
And at this point, I still didn't even really fully understand what the hell you were talking about. I was listening and nodding, and I was looking in a way. I was hungry for something new and looking, and I get like that sometimes. If I get hungry to do something new or try something new, I'll overextend my ability to look for the possibility in it. Yeah. But I've told you many times, when we were still having lunch, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what you were talking about. Really, I was listening, trying to understand it, but conceptually, I was like, I didn't even know they did this. I thought they just, you see them write on folders or something in the office back then, and you just thought, and you see the folders go on a file. I thought that was it.
Yeah.
I thought that was it.
That's how, you said,
I went home.
I still remember that after the meeting, you said, okay, let me think about it.
I'll get back
and
to
I
you.
Was like, oh my God, I know that.
It's like, not going to do it.
I need someone, I need someone because I had no clue how to market things. I know, what I can do to change things, make things easier for everyone, but I didn't know how to market it. I didn't know how to talk to,
well, I didn't know either. So, I went home, and that night, I don't even know if I told my wife Jen yet that we had met. I think I told her I was meeting with a weird guy from India for lunch or something.
Oh, not weird. A handsome guy from India.
Handsome, yes, that's what I said, handsome. And got on Googled transcription, and everything that came up: transcription's dying, transcription's dead, run away from transcription. Yeah. It's gone, and then I couldn't tell you where I found one article. And when I tell the story sometimes to people, when I'm talking about a business, I tell them that I found, multiple articles. It's just me embellishing. I found one article, and I couldn't tell you where it was from. So I'd love to cite it or whatever, but I couldn't. And it was just a pretty short one because I have a short attention span. It said, yes, transcription is dying, but doctors hate their EHRs. Mm-hmm. They don't like to type. There's even today, there's some even young doctors, some of them like to, some of them don't. Some of them want to be heavy in care. Some of them want to be heavy in the keeping the data clean and all that kind of stuff. And they don't mind typing. But for the most part, as doctors become established, their time and their money is generated from the care administration, not the keeping the details in the system, right? So that's what this article said. No one's transcribing anymore because they're saving costs doing it this way, using EHRs with voice recognition software, but the doctors don't like it.
Yeah, like it. And they don't realize that they're spending more money, wasting their time.
And they're working 2 hours, after they're done seeing patients, and they're going home cranky. And then they're spending their Saturdays trying to get caught up because they're not staying caught up. And hospitals are growing and buying private practices and putting doctors under contract. and making them hit quotas for seeing patients. And they can't keep up with the documentation. So they'll get 100, 200, 300 encounters or patient visits behind, and that stuff can't be, billed out. And then the hospitals can't collect on them. They let them go, and now they can't practice anywhere within a 50-mile radius. I don't know. It's different for everybody. It's depending on their contracts, but it can be devastating. So that article kind of quickly and easily made my small brain realize that there's an opportunity. And basically, what I thought is, we can make transcription work if we can take all the things that the doctors don't want to do out of their hands. So the further we can get the doctors from having to click and type, the more opportunity we have to do transcription. So that's what I think. I don't know if we met again or I just called you. I said, I think we can do this, but if we can do this, what do you think?
And at that time, I had no idea, because I have never seen an EHR before in that my life. And I had no idea, how to work around this software.
But I'm like, Manny, do you think we can? Yeah. I'm like, Manny, do you think we can do the transcription and then set up either an interface or get remote access to their EHR and put it in for them? And you're like, sure, yes.
Absolutely. And I was like, maybe, absolutely in my mind, but
and that's the story of how our business grows.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, we find problems with.
It was on a hunch, right? It was on a hunch that, okay, we can do this. And you had no clue about this, healthcare sector. I had no clue about, how the EHRs work, whether they will give us access to the EHR. I mean, is it even possible for someone,
I knew the technology was there. I knew that was there.
I had no clue about that, but, just on a hunch, we can save time for the providers. We can save, them money. In fact, whatever we save, it increases their practice. If a provider is saving 1 hour every day, he can see at least 4 patients minimum during that time. And that's and then within a week, they can pay for the services that we are offering. Right. And the rest of the 3 weeks, they are making more money.
And then go home and go to their kids' baseball games after work, or, spend time with their wives or have fun on the weekend. So
that's how basically we started.
Yep. Hey, we've probably gone over the time we've allotted, and your guys' time is valuable and so is ours. But that is the story of how, we started this business that you'll hear a little bit about.
That's how Brian and Manny met, right?
That's how we met. That's how the love story began. The bro love. No, but, just to wrap that up, we're really close. We care about each other from a standpoint of, we're business partners, but we're best friends. And,
Really? Oh my God.
Dang it. I wasn't supposed to say that out loud. No, honestly, it's Uncle Manny at my house for my kids, right? And your kids are grown, so they don't need to call me Uncle Brian. That'd be weird. But same thing with Joe. I really do wish Joe was here. We'll get him in here because we're talking. Maybe we'll throw a really embarrassing picture up of Joe.
We have lots of
on the screen here. When his name comes up, we'll just flash pictures of Joe subliminally on the screen, so everybody has nightmares about him. But no, this has been really good sharing. What we're going to try to do every time we share with you guys, we're going to try to have a little bit of fun too. Like at the end of the episode, and talk about some fun stuff that's going on. I think we all like sports. Sports in the U.S. is a little bit different than sports in India. So let's
the sports in US, we don't have those sports in India. Basketball, we are nowhere.
Right.
The only thing that we are good
at. Did you guys get second place in the Olympics?
Hmm?
Can you fact check that for me, Matt?
What?
I'm joking. No, but seriously. So what are we going to talk? We're going to hit on real quick today. We're going to hit on cricket. Cricket's
you don't know anything about cricket.
I don't, but is it the biggest sport in India?
It is the most, I would say, the paying sport in India.
It's the biggest money sport.
Money sport. Yeah. So cricket is a religion.
Is it?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that's, to me here, that's like, I mean, like the big three in the U.S. is football, baseball, and basketball, right? And I think the biggest moneymaker of those three is probably football. Mm-hmm. And it's probably got the biggest market share too. But all three of those, to their fans, which are all like huge bases, at least here, those are religions to the folks that follow them. Like I used to religiously follow all three when I was in high school. And then, college and girls and stuff like that happens and jobs. And then it went down to mainly just football. And now for me, it's kind of baseball because my son likes baseball now. Mm-hmm. So it gets me back into it a little bit because he gets excited about it.
But I always I have been trying to get this guy to, get me.
He wants me to take him to play baseball.
Yeah,
He's
baseball.
Never watched a game.
No, I don't want to watch a game. I want to play
a game first.
I have watched it several times.
How are you going to play without knowing the rules?
Look, I have watched, Bugs Bunny. I have watched, like Mickey Mouse playing this game. So yeah.
All right. Put a helmet on him, slap a glove, put a bat in his hand.
Yeah, I want to actually experience,
what position.
I feel, like baseball and cricket are kind of, like similar. In a lot of ways, you have to hit a ball. Yeah,
you have to hit a ball.
Yeah,
I think that's.
I think I can be good in that.
You might be. Were you a good cricket player?
Yeah.
What is?
I used to hit lots of home runs.
Do they call what is a home run in cricket?
It's called a six.
A six.
Yeah, where you hit out of the ground,
So you hit it out of the park.
Yeah, out of the park, and that means like you have.
It's a six.
Got 6 runs for your team.
So they just call it a six.
Yeah. Here you call it home run. How much a home run is worth?
Depends on how many people are on base. If there's nobody on base, and you're the only one up, and you're the one up to bat, and there's no one on base, it's worth 1.
Okay.
Because you're only going to score yourself.
Okay.
Right. So, but if the bases are loaded, which means there's a person on first, second, and third, there's 3 bases that you could be on. Home is the home base, right? That constitutes a point. Then it's worth 4 points if you hit a home run. It's called a grand slam.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
See, look at that. We're educating.
Yeah.
Today.
So the first batter who goes, and if he hits a home run, he will get only 1 point.
1 point. 1 point.
So does this means that you don't send your best batter the first one?
No, you typically, again, and I'm not an expert. I played baseball a lot of years, but you want your typically your person that has the highest percentage to get on base to bat first, not necessarily to hit a home run.
Mm-hmm.
You want in your lineup, you want your 4th batter to be your slugger or your most power hitter, because if you get all 3 people on base, you see the potential there, right? But grand slams are pretty rare. They don't happen all that often because a lot of things can happen to keep people from getting on base in the game. See, it's a pretty nuanced game, but cricket is too. I can't knock cricket, but I don't know all the rules. I've tried having you explain them to me. I can't get past why the games sometimes last a month.
Come on, man. I told you 5 days, maximum 5 days. You Americans exaggerate everything,
Well,
your burgers are big, your your hot dogs are big, everything is big, and right. You exaggerate, you make fun of people in a big way also. It's not month, it's 5 days.
It's a 5-day game.
You get rest in, 1 day in between.
Why do you need 5 days?
Huh? We want to test our, our, what do you call that? What is the word?
Endurance,
yeah.
Wow.
So it's morning.
I think you could probably figure out the winner and the loser in a couple hours. Typically what happens with sports here is when games get too long, the base and the people who make up the rules, they get really frustrated with it. And they try to find ways to make the games go faster because our attention span's so small. Where you're fighting for people's attention so often.
Yeah, anyway. I mean, these days test matches are, getting finished in less than 3 days.
Test match? What does that mean?
That's what, we call it a 5-day game. It's called a test match.
So is it testing your skill?
Yeah, I mean, in a 1-day game, you get limited overs.
See why I don't get it, guys? See why I don't get it? Maybe you guys get some. We're gonna probably get messages.
So I'll just
how
tell you,
I'll figure this game out. But I would like to watch some matches where you can sit next to me real closely and you can just walk me through. Pause, Brian. This is what just happened. I've had to do that with my wife over the years to teach her about football. Okay, hon, this is a first down in football. This is what happens in baseball when they don't swing at the ball, but they just stick the bat out and hit it really short. It's called a bunt, right? And yeah.
Really?
See, there's rules. And if you try playing, I mean, anyway.
We need another 40-minute session for only this.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a special episode on just sports. But anyway, so cricket. What's big in the world of cricket right now? What's coming up?
Right now, Asia Cup is going on, which is
Asia Cup.
Yeah, Asia Cup. Only the Asian countries are playing.
Well, that sounds discriminatory. What's up with that?
So only India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh.
They're the
These
only
four
Asian countries that play
They are
cricket?
the only Asian countries who are into cricket.
Oh.
So there are not many countries, like in cricket. Maybe
but it's
like,
super
10.
popular worldwide. I mean,
Yeah, it's super popular. Yeah. I mean, it's a British game, you know that,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
Which is another reason I'm
And
surprised you
it's
guys
only
like
the
it.
colonies of, like, it's popular only where the
Where they
British
colonized,
Yeah. So, yeah. So, but like,
but you guys, India is becoming like the powerhouse, right?
Yeah, India, because of our population and how much the people love India's cricket, we call it BCCI, is the richest in the cricket world.
Okay.
And they kind of control everything now. They control the ICC, which is like the International Cricket Council.
Okay.
They kind of control that.
Wow.
So if India says that they are not going to be part of, like some, competition that the ICC is having, ICC lose a lot of money. Now, you know that I was watching this, like video on YouTube. This was a podcast, and one guy was asking, do you know like who has the most following in the world out of, and he said LeBron James, Michael Jordan and all that. And he said, it's not even close.
Right.
So Virat Kohli, he has around 294 million followers.
He's a cricket player?
He's a cricket god. I mean, right now. he's a young cricket god of India now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's 1.5 billion people in India. Like, if you get popular there.
But he's popular everywhere. He's popular in Pakistan also.
Oh.
Yeah, he's popular.
Wow. So he plays for India?
Yeah, he was the captain of India for a couple of years. Yeah, but he plays for India.
Asia Cup now.
Asia Cup
Who's
now.
Who's going to win it? Who's going to win the Asia Cup?
Of course, India.
India's going to win. Who's gonna be the first loser?
Pakistan.
Pakistan's going to get second. Okay.
I don't know. I love cricket. I love playing cricket, but I don't watch it.
Time to watch
being
it,
here in US, I'm not able to watch it.
Yeah. I haven't watched a full football game besides going to them, like actually physically going to the games in quite a few years. I couldn't tell you. Like, maybe I've watched, outside of going to a couple games since we started the business, and I love football. I just, taking 2.5 hours of my day on a Sunday, it pulls away from everybody else who needs my time. It just doesn't happen. Like, I love it. I want to get to a place where I can watch it more and maybe just go more games. But anyway, yeah. So I watch the highlights, at like 10:30 at night on a Sunday when I'm trying to fall asleep.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah. I watch highlights.
Yeah. So India's going to win the Asia Cup.
And then there is, after that, I mean, I have lost track of all these things, but, like in cricketing world, every 4 years you have the World Cup.
Yep.
Okay. Then there is a Champions Trophy.
It's kind of like football or soccer.
Yeah, Soccer World Cup. Yeah, it's like Soccer World Cup. So it's every 4 years. Then there is a Champions Trophy, which is like every 2 years. Then, like countries visit, each other and play games. So those are called, series.
Okay.
So India might go to Australia and they will play like 5 T20s, 5 one-days, and maybe 3 test matches.
Okay.
So they will be there for 2-3 months.
Yeah.
And, so the cricketing season, and then, like the cricket players, they are always on the move. They are like...
changing teams and stuff?
No, they are all like, 1 month they will be in Australia, next month they might be, after 2 months they might be in, like England.
Mm-hmm.
And the players from other countries also come to India, so yeah.
Okay. So India's going to win the Asia Cup. And so, it's interesting. We're supposed to do Super Bowl picks, and
Super Bowl is football, right?
Super Bowl is American football. Yeah. Or the real football, honestly.
So I see in every school you have soccer teams, but soccer is not big in US. Why?
Soccer is big at a young age, and is actually growing. I don't keep up with it, but it's MLS is what it's called now, right? Major League Soccer or something like that. But they tend to get a couple big players from worldwide every year to sign with their teams in the major markets like LA or something like that. But I remember in the 80s when I was a kid, they tried to get everybody to play soccer in like 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade. And you'd play, but it was just kids fumbling around, kicking a ball, falling. You couldn't even tell it was organized. But even now, I mean, you on a Saturday, you drive by soccer fields and there's thousands of people out there, parents and kids. But for some reason, it hasn't stuck as they get older. I think as they get older into to middle school age and high school age, the popular sports, you got to kind of pick. And if there aren't established leagues or systems in place in those schools to really take talented kids and have them play, I think talented soccer kids, they end up going into outside of scholastic programs and they go into like club teams and then they get kind of caught up in that, and it just hasn't grown like in the school systems. It's football, baseball, basketball, and wrestling, and sometimes swimming, depending on if schools have enough money to have that in. But you get in there and the popular sports that all the kids like to talk about, watch at home and play are those three. So you get pulled into doing those things, and that's kind of what happens. Okay. So anyway, Super Bowl picks, I don't know. I don't know enough about the season yet this year to make a really good educated pick. We live in Wisconsin. So yeah, I don't think anybody's picking Green Bay for the Super Bowl this year. They lost their quarterback. I know you got Oh yeah, I could pick the Jets, and nobody in Wisconsin will watch this podcast or listen to it.
Why? Do you guys hate Jets?
Well, that's where they're.
New York Jets, right?
See, this is how much Manny doesn't know. So, New York Jets.
Yeah,
so
I've heard that.
The Packers quarterback of for the last however many years, Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets, which is funny because their previous legendary quarterback Brett Favre left Green Bay and went to the Jets.
Okay.
And the person who replaced him, Aaron Rodgers, became an amazing quarterback for the last decade and a half. And now he left Green Bay and went to the Jets.
So basically what Wisconsin does, they train someone to become really good, and then New York takes it away.
Well, he's really good, but I mean, I don't know that his skills have diminished a whole lot. Some people would say they have. I'm not in a place to say that. He's still ridiculously talented. And one of the best ever. He's at a time when a team like Green Bay was thinking, well, man, if we're going to hang on to you for a few more years, we might as well start training your replacement. And that makes you uncomfortable as a vet. Mm-hmm. Like, you see your replacement right there, and I don't know what's in his mind, but if it was me, I'd be like, okay, maybe it's time to let this guy take over, and I'll take my talents somewhere else and hopefully help them do something big. You know what I mean? So
what's the lifespan of a quarterback?
Oh, geez. I don't know what the average is. We could look that up, but it's probably, of all the positions in football, one of the longest because you're the most protected. A quarterback's, career can be cut really short by an injury to their arm, their shoulder, their knees, their legs. But for the most part, everybody in front of them on the line, their job is to protect that guy. Okay. So unless they're like a running quarterback that puts themselves in danger more often, typically it's pretty long. I would say, again, I'm probably be way off, but it's got to be somewhere around 9-10 years. But there's a lot of quarterbacks that are in that stat that only last a year. So that's going to drag it down. If you could say, what's the lifespan, not lifespan, what's the career span of, the average career span of a starting quarterback with more than 5 years of experience, it'd probably be longer. Because a quarterback that starts for 10 years might get older, want to stay in the league and become a backup for a little while. Sometimes they're okay with that. Not your typical Super Bowl winning quarterback like an Aaron Rodgers or other, big time names. So they don't typically want to play second fiddle. So, but yeah, I don't know. You know what? I'm not going to pick a Super Bowl winner yet. Give me some time, folks. Let's see how things go this weekend. I'll do a little bit of groundwork because I haven't really been listening to where everybody's at. I did see, though, we can talk about this. This is interesting. First game of the season, the Super Bowl champions lost.
Who was the Super Bowl champion?
See, this is fun. This is why this is fun. The Kansas City Chiefs.
They were like Super Bowl
champions. They won the
Super
Bowl last year. They have an amazing quarterback. They've won 2 in the last couple of years. They lost to the Detroit Lions, who had
a good team?
Not historically. They had an average team last year that probably overperformed. And this year they won. They won the first game of the season. There's only 16 games in the season, I think, this year.
So how long is this American football game is.
How long is the season or how long is a game?
No, the game.
Games typically last 2.5 hours, 4 quarters, 15-minute quarters, but the time stops in between each play most of the time, depending on the type of play. So, but they lost by a point. That's a big deal. You go down, I guarantee everybody in the Chiefs locker room had a W next to that game on the calendar.
So
maybe that's why they lost.
The shortest cricket game is like 5 hours.
See what I'm saying? Like, could you imagine going to a football game, a baseball game? Like, some baseball games historically have been pretty long, but like going to a game in person where you're at the stadium, like let's say you were tailgating.
I'll stop you there. I'm not making fun of American football or
I know you're not making fun, but I'm just saying, like, could you imagine, like, because we've been to games. I guarantee Matt's been to games, or you guys listening, you've been to games, right? Where you get there 2 or 3 or 4 hours early, you tailgate, you have some food, you have a few drinks, and you're having fun, and the game starts and you're at the top. You're ready to have a good time. And then you're going and going, you're having a couple drinks in there to kind of stay in that mode. But then by the fourth quarter, and especially depending on the season up here when it gets cold, you're like, your body's about out of energy with the excitement. You're like, okay, I'm having fun. If it's a close game, you're fired up. But like 2 to 2.5 hours is about all you can take. Imagine, 5 hours with some people in stadiums would be ridiculous. Because some people, like, I don't know about you guys, but it seems like every game I go to, at least football games, 2 rows behind me is a guy rooting for the team opposite me, just decides that he sees that me or my wife has logo wear on for the other team, and they just decide to heckle and have some fun. You know what I mean? And like, not like in good spirits fun. Like, you can be buddy with people around you and have fun with it, and that's cool. We don't get mad about, but just some guy that's like over the top stupid, and like, that's the guy who is the sport, or not the sport necessarily, but the team is their religious idol or something. But anyway, 5 hours, that'd be crazy. And like, you go home, so who won? Nobody. We got to go back tomorrow. So do your tickets for today?
That's another version of it. The shortest version finishes up, like we get a result in 5 hours. After that, we call it one-day match. One-day match is like from morning 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock in the evening.
Jeez.
So that's a one-day match in which, like both teams are allotted 50 overs to play. And then the 5-day match is, till the other team wins. Or no, not till the other team. I mean, it results in a draw if after 5 days, nobody wins. Okay.
That's crazy. And you've been at matches in person in the stadiums like all day?
I have been to T20s. I have been to a one-day match, but I have never been to a 5-day match. But I have watched 5-day match on TV, from morning till evening.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Sometimes they get really interesting. I mean, nowadays, in the 60s, 70s or 80s, those players, they had a lot of patience, like if they used to come to play a 5-day match, they used to play it as a test match. They won't make any runs, for maybe like 2 hours. They will just stand there and hit the ball, touch the ball. That's it. They won't make any runs.
Yeah.
But nowadays, the players, the generation, they are really aggressive. They will make, like in one day, like 300 runs.
It's just crazy. It's like I hear that. It sounds crazy. And at the same time, I don't know what the heck you're talking about.
Nowadays, 5-day matches, they finish up like in 3 days.
Wow.
Previously, 5 days matches, like if you play 10 5-day matches, only one of them will have a result and rest of them will result in draws.
Wow.
But nowadays, the results are like out of 10, maybe like you will get results in 8 and 2 will end up in result in draw.
That's crazy. So good. A little bit of cricket education. As we go on, maybe you can teach us in snippets, short little bites over time. And then before we know it, we'll have all the jargon down and we'll know what's going on with cricket.
I don't want to learn all these games. I want to play these games.
You want to play?
I learn by playing.
Let's start with football. Let's get you in some pads.
No, I don't want to be injured. Baseball is the easiest.
You won't be injured. It looks on TV like you get hit hard. You really don't get hurt.
All your aggression,
you really don't get hurt.
In the football.
I have no aggression.
No, come on. Show me that. No, I'm not playing football.
Oh, anyway. I don't know what time mark we're at. We're probably pushing an hour or something here, which is longer than we wanted to go. We won't go an hour every time. And we'll probably end up shortening this up a little bit anyway in the back office. But thank you, everybody, for spending time with us today. on behalf of me and Manish. Did I say that right?
Manny, the name of the show is Brian and Manny.
We're going to go with Manny now.
Yeah. I know that, most of the people will say it like Manish. I don't like that.
Manish.
I'm a man.
Okay. Anyway, we're wrapping up. We'll see you guys next week for the Business Line Podcast. Take care.